Good afternoon, everybody. I am Jason Eckert, the Chief Operating Officer for Vision Serve Alliance. I want to welcome you. Thank you for joining us today for the webinar featuring the Monarch Rise project. We are really excited to share this innovative effort in transforming access to information and expanding opportunities for individuals who are blind, deafblind, or have low vision. At the heart of today's discussion is the Monarch, which is a groundbreaking multi-braille device that integrates tactile graphics and braille on a first of its kind 10-line, 32-cell refreshable display with access to downloadable digital textbooks and APH's tactile graphic image library. The Monarch has significantly reduced the time it takes for information to reach users' fingertips, creating more immediate and meaningful access to complex visual content. I've seen it firsthand, and that is absolutely true. Building on this technology of the Monarch Rise project is focused on more than just access. It is truly about empowerment in the blind and low vision community. This initiative is creating a sustainable network of Monarch users who can independently share strategies, experiences, and success stories. Together, they are advancing the opportunities for competitive integrative employment, supporting individuals not only in preparing for and securing employment, but also in maintaining and progressing in their careers. We are really fortunate today to be joined by an outstanding group of speakers who will bring us deep expertise and firsthand experience with the Monarch and this work. Jennifer Wenzel, Technical Project Specialist and Monarch user, Sarah Gauer, Monarch Student Pilot Project Director, and Erin Sigmund, Monarch Rise Project Director. They're all here with us today. We hope that today's session is informative. I hope that it inspires, that it sparks some new ideas with technology, collaboration, and truly drives greater access to the community. Really excited to hear more about this project, so let me turn it over to the team, whoever wants to begin and kick us off.
Thank you so much, Jason, for that very, very warm welcome. I'm so glad that you got to share just a little teaser into the Monarch Rise project, which we'll share today. And we're also going to be talking about the Monarch Student Pilot Project, a sister initiative that focuses on those first through 12th grade students. But I don't want to steal Sarah's thunder, so we'll wait for that later on in the presentation. This is the Monarch Moments with the Monarch Rise and Monarch Student Pilot Projects team at the American Printing House for the Blind. So we'll jump in and give my co-presenters the opportunity to introduce themselves. So Jennifer, anything you want to share with the crew that Jason hasn't already shared?
Hello, I'm Jennifer Wenzel, and I am a technical product specialist at APH. So my role is to support people who are using our products, and I do that through virtual trainings, sometimes in-person trainings, sometimes giving demos of products. So if you notice a button on the website where it says request a demo, I'm one of the people that does that. And then I also get the privilege of going to various conferences and working in our exhibit booth so I can have great conversations with people using our products. My particular area of, I guess, expertise is braille and technology products. I am a blind person and I use those products on a daily basis, including the Monarch. So turn it over to Sarah.
Hey, thanks for having us all here. I am Sarah Gauer, and I am the Monarch Student Pilot Project Director. And my job has been to design and implement this project focused on first through 12th graders. And that encompasses providing Monarchs, but also getting some feedback and doing some data analysis, getting to have meetings with the students and educators. So a little bit of everything. It's been a really fun experience. So glad to be here, and I'll turn it back over to Erin.
Thanks, Sarah. My name is Erin Sigmund, and I am the Monarch Rise Project Director here at the American Printing House for the Blind. Been at APH for just about 3.5, edging up on 4 years. And I'm excited to be about 1.5 years into the Monarch Rise project. I am a previous AmeriCorps State National Program Director and AmeriCorps Vista and Vista leader. So really my work, both at APH and beyond, is a commitment to community service and helping people identify and jump into their purpose and passion in life. So we're going to help you jump into your purpose and passion for our webinar today with some learning objectives so you know where we are headed in this presentations. After attending this webinar, you will understand who the Monarch projects, Monarch Rise project and Monarch Student Pilot project, are for, what they involve, and what they aim to achieve, with a brief introduction to the Monarch multi-line braille display. You will also discover how current Monarch Project's participants experience their own Monarch Moments using key apps and features at school, at work, and at home. And finally, we hope that you identify ways to get involved and create your very own Monarch Moment. So I'm going to pass it to Jennifer. Can you introduce us to Monarch?
Sure. So many of you may be wondering, what is this Monarch? And so you can think of it like an Android tablet. It is a multi-line braille display, so you can have a maximum of 10 lines at one time on your display and 32 cells across. And you can change the spacing so that you can go and only have 6 lines, which gives you sort of a double spaced braille experience. Or you can have the maximum of 10, or you can have some spacing in between that. It's very easy to adjust that. And because it's an Android tablet, it has its own applications. So things like an editor, a word processor, and the word processor actually has a spell check, which is exciting. And it does have a Perkins style keyboard for input. And it has the ability to connect to Wi-Fi, so you can do things like download books and access the APH TGIL, which is a tactile graphic image library. Because one of the most exciting things about the Monarch is the type of cells that it uses allow for representation of tactile graphics as well as Braille. And that means you can have a tactile graphic with Braille labels, which makes those tactile graphics even more meaningful. So it can do all these things on its own and connected to Wi-Fi, and it has the power now of being able to be connected to a computer with JAWS and NVDA and to iOS devices. Not perfectly with iOS yet, but it's getting better and better. And so you are able to harness the power of those devices with a screen reader with the combination of the multiple lines of Braille. So that's a little bit about the Monarch, and I believe I'm passing it back to Erin.
Thanks, Jennifer. If Jennifer's teaser, we said it was a brief introduction to the Monarch, right? And that was really brief for all that the Monarch can do. If that has gotten you excited to learn more, you can learn more about the Monarch by visiting www.aph.org/meet-monarch. And on our slide, which we are reading through all of our slides in entirety today, we have a photo of a young Monarch user who's engaging those tactile graphics that Jennifer mentioned. He's actually engaging the butterfly logo of the Monarch on the display. So I think that's a sweet first introduction to the Monarch when you power on. So now that you have met Monarch, let's jump into meeting the Monarch projects with Sarah Gauer.
Yeah, thanks. So we have these two projects, each with their own audience, but both projects are built on the same foundation, the same resources and experiences. So in these projects, the participants will receive a Monarch multi-line braille display, as well as access to a growing community of other Monarch users. And all of this is at no cost to them. Participants get to partake in both asynchronous and synchronous training and community building activities. So those are big fancy words for doing it on your own at your own speed, and also doing it together as a big group at one time. These activities are generally less than 4 hours a month or so. Participants also will be gaining confidence and skill in using the Monarch to achieve their own self-determined educational or employment goals. And finally, participants also, they're not just gaining, but they're also impacting the future of Monarch accessible technology as a whole, and also the Monarch projects themselves.
Sarah, this is Erin Sigmund. I'm going
Yeah.
to jump in and go off script because that last bullet point is so exciting. When you're talking about impacting the future of Monarch and multiline AT and Monarch projects, we do lots of asynchronous and synchronous activities. Those look like Zoom calls and courses and all kinds of activities. But perhaps the most exciting for some of our participants thus far have been chances to field test and provide feedback on new Monarch applications. Some of those new Monarch applications, Jennifer's even going to demo at the end of our webinar today. So really that impact, this is not just, oh, you'll impact it because you're using it, but we're giving these participants the opportunity to participate in direct feedback field testing sessions. So that's an exciting thing for me, and I hope it's exciting for the folks on the call. I'll pop it back to you to tell us about the student pilot project.
No, that's a great call out. It is. It's really, really exciting. Um, so let's introduce these projects to you. So the first one I'm going to focus on is the Monarch Student Pilot Project. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it, and then also some of one of the moments that one of our students experienced during the project. So I'll shorten this to MSPP for Monarch Student Pilot Project. It is a longitudinal nationwide pilot project, and it's focused on empowering 1st through 12th graders to help them build self-determination while also actively shaping innovative Braille technology, like what Erin just was talking about, not just the product itself, but also all of those applications that go along with the platform, all of the resources available. So MSPP has the primary target audience of 1st through 12th graders, but it also impacts the educators. We get their feedback as well about classroom implementation and what kind of impact it has on their part of education. If you'd like to learn more, this was just a very quick snapshot. There's lots of great things about MSPP, but if you'd like to learn more details, you can go to www.aph.org, and that's /meet-monarch/MSPP. So I want to introduce one of our students that has been in the project. Just such a great Monarch moment for her. So she's an 8th grader in Idaho, and she had been really reluctant to do any schoolwork at home because her mother had not learned Braille and just because of that struggled to help her. But they were able to connect an external monitor onto the Monarch so that mom could follow along in print as the daughter worked on her homework. And now that mother-daughter duo get to easily just read together. And the educator remarked, describing this, new connection as just being fantastic for their family's relationship, which was just so heartwarming. I love that story. But the same student, not just getting benefits at home, but the student also went on to use Monarch during her school's science fair, and actually won 1st place in the chemistry division, which was such a neat cherry on top to that story. And I'll turn it over to Erin to share more about Monarch Rise.
Thanks, Sarah. What I think is so impressive about your Idaho 8th grader who won the science fair in chemistry using the Monarch is they didn't even have access yet to the periodic table because we were still field testing that.
I
And so
know.
that's a little teaser. Stick around. We're going to do a demonstration of the new periodic table application as we wrap through these project information. So very impressive. So as Sarah mentioned, we have two Monarch projects with one shared foundation. We have the Monarch Student Pilot Project, but we also have the Monarch RISE project. RISE stands for Resources for Innovation, Skills, and Employment. The Monarch RISE project is a 5-year disability innovation fund project serving participants preparing for, achieving, maintaining, and progressing in competitive integrative employment by September of 2028. We are taking a phased approach to the Monarch Rise project to ensure that all of our participants get the best activities and the best support. So the first phase of our Monarch Rise project really was a pilot project for us as well. We were working with professionals, primarily services providers, so TVIs, voc rehab counselors, AT instructors, as well as a small number of competitively employed blind individuals who will be serving as mentors later on in the project. That phase is closed for enrollment, but ongoing in terms of activities. But I'm most excited to share that phase two, our college, early career, and underemployed category phase applications are open right now. So this is Stephen, shared in the host chat. You mentioned that the project is for primary students. Would you consider a PhD student about to be in the research phase of her dissertation? Yes, yes, yes. That individual would be a perfect fit for the college, early career, and underemployed category, so long as they are seeking some type of competitive integrated employment by September 2028. Applications are open now. You can find them at www.aph.org/meet-monarch/rise. We also have lots of detailed eligibility information and detailed project information. So if you're not quite sure if you fit in that category or not, all of that is on that website. You can find that in a link titled General Project Information on that Meet Monarch-Rise website. So we had our professionals in phase one, and now we are just applying and beginning to enroll our college, early career, and underemployed participants. Our final phase is our most open phase for the Monarch Rise project, and that will be for any adult job seeker or a transition age student. Anyone we haven't captured in a previous phase who is seeking employment by that September 2028, we want to work to get a Monarch into their hands. I could sit and talk as a project director about the Monarch Rise project for ages and ages and slides, but I like to highlight just one story from one of our current Monarch Rise participants. I'm going to be quoting a Rise participant from Minnesota who shared with us early on in her project participation. I am completely blind and have a sighted 6-year-old daughter. She was so fascinated to see me zooming in on a butterfly graphic and feeling the life cycle of a butterfly, of the monarch. When my daughter brings art home, she has had to take my hand and trace her art and describe it to me. I've also been able to take pictures of her art or schoolwork, and AI has described it to me. However, I wanted to explore the Wing It app, which is an app that connects to Monarch, to see if I could feel her drawings. We were both so excited to try it. She turned off voiceover on my phone and started to draw and wing it, and the joy I felt was so real. My daughter made silly shapes and tried to draw my husband and I, her daddy and mommy, with their white canes. And she also wrote her name, and I was able to feel her handwriting for the very first time. I will never forget how she forms her S's now. Again, that was a quote from one of our participants in Minnesota. I love to highlight and share this Monarch moment because the Monarch Rise project, we're focused on employment and making those outcomes in employment, and we'll share even more stories about employment in just a few minutes. But we know that the impact of the Monarch extends far beyond our intended outcome, and it was a delight to hear how this Monarch moment was happening at home for one of our participants. So let's jump in and let's talk about those impacts, those things we were intentionally going after and researching in part of these Monarch projects. So Sarah, I'll pass it to you to chat about Monarch's impact in the classroom.
Great. So MSPP has been around for, I guess, since the fall of 2024. And part of that was asking questionnaires or sending questionnaires to these educators and the students and getting their feedback and their experiences. And so from those questionnaire responses, we've learned a lot of things, but I want to highlight just a couple of the really, really big ones. So, one of the impacts we've seen of Monarch in the classroom is increased engagement for those students. Students themselves reported 70% of them said that Monarch has actually made classes more enjoyable. Um, and educators reported that their students are more interested in braille, tactile graphics, and reading. Up on the screen, I have a bar chart showing the increase. 43% of students are more interested in reading because of the Monarch. 64% are more interested in braille, and a whopping 93% are more interested in engaging with tactile graphics because of Monarch, which is
Sarah,
just outstanding.
this is Erin, and I'm curious, how many students are currently enrolled in the Monarch Student Pilot Project?
Great question. We are at about 215 right now.
So that 93%, that's a lot of students.
That is a lot. That's a lot of students really starting to enjoy tactile graphics, feeling like they're getting some understanding out of those tactile graphics now, um, enjoying the panning and zooming on Monarch. So it's really exciting stuff. Um, Students aren't the only ones feeling a benefit, though. The educators as well are reporting a decrease in the time it takes for them to prep for classes. The educators that had integrated Monarch into their classroom instruction reported a 31 to 36% decrease in the lesson prep time, which I know that every single educator could use more time in their day, and that was a very, very significant outcome that we didn't expect it to be quite that much already with Monarch being brand new, and we're so excited to see it. Um, but it's not just in the classroom. So I will pass it back to Erin to talk about impact on the job.
Thanks, Sarah. That 31 to 36% decrease in lesson prep time, when I learned that that was kind of a pre-post stat where you ask teachers how long is it taking when they didn't have the Monarch, and then after their student had had the Monarch, how long is it taking now? You know, I think that shapes the story around that 36%. A really impressive stat. So we talked about, and you heard from our Monarch Moment on the job, and then you've also heard about, excuse me, in the family, and we've also heard from Sarah's stats about Monarch's impact in the classroom. I want to pivot and talk about Monarch's impact on the job, because that's really what we are interested in exploring, discovering, and impacting through the Monarch Rise project. And again, I think these stories are best shared from our Rise participant perspective. So I'm going to share a couple of quotes from a podcast, but I am going to pause and say, Jason, Helen, please invite us back in about a year and a half, because we are just about a year into less than a year actually into our pilot phase of professionals. So we're still collecting the data, and the best data on the Monarch and Monarch Rise impact on the job is going to come after our next cohort of individuals. So we hope to have the opportunity to come back and share some stats with you all.
I will pledge now that we will invite you back.
Huzzah, huzzah. I love, don't mind putting you on the spot there.
No worries. Happy to have you.
Well, we do already have some stories and some feedback that we can offer. And I'm quoting from two participants who have shared actually their stories about the Monarch Rise project on two separate podcasts. Those are linked in this PowerPoint presentation, so you can listen to the entire story. But I'll read Scott's quote about how he's using Monarch on the job. Scott Davert on Eyes on Success noted that the other thing he really liked is editing. What I like is the way in which you can route the cursor on the Monarch. On Braille displays, the single line models, they have a cursor routing buttons where you can press a button that is located above one of the Braille cells, and the cursor will jump to that point. While on the Monarch, I believe it's called point and click. You are able to route the cursor anywhere on your Braille display that you want to be in editing. It took a little bit of getting used to, but that has made a huge difference in terms of my efficiency at editing Word documents. The amount of productivity as a Braille-only user at this point is much higher than when I was trying to do these same tasks with a single line display. And I selected and love this quote because that question about productivity is something that we are hoping to learn about through our evaluation of the Monarch Rise project. Does having access to 10 lines of multi-line Braille increase productivity on the job? Sounds like for Scott that it certainly has, at least in his document editing aspect. Finally, I'll share a quote from Bill Adams, who shared on ADA Live about his work incorporating the Monarch into his role as an O&M instructor at the Veteran Services Administration. Bill shares, like, let's say I have a veteran who's not really engaged in the morning. So we'll actually play like a word stock game. Erin chiming in, you'll see this in just a few minutes. So Bill will play a word stock game using the Monarch just to get the veteran engaged and ready for class. This is Erin chiming in again. I love this story because I personally use both word stock on the Monarch and LinkedIn games to get me ready for the workday every morning. So I am feeling where Bill and this veteran are sitting. That's me every morning. I need my coffee and my games. Bill goes on to share a couple of times we've had Monarch chess tournaments with the veterans where they can actually play chess on the Monarch against each other. This has been a great tool to engage the veterans. Another great thing I've used it for is teaching coding. One thing about coding is it's how things are placed, and the syntax of where things are placed is very important. You don't really get that just in audio or in one line of Braille, but Bill's quote highlights that you do on the multi-line Monarch display. So if these have engaged you, these stories have compelled you to want to make your own Monarch moment, we're going to tell you how to do that. So we are keeping applications for both the Monarch Rise project and the Monarch Student Pilot project open for you, the attendees on this call today. So we have linked in this PowerPoint presentation, and I'll drop it in the chat during our Q&A hour, the link to apply for the Monarch Rise project if you are an individual seeking employment, or to nominate a student if you are a teacher, qualified educator, TVI, VR counselor, whoever, for the Monarch Student Pilot Project. It's great timing because our applications officially close at midnight Eastern Standard Time today. So use this afternoon, get your applications in. I will share that both applications, especially the Monarch Rise project, it's a couple of eligibility questions and some short answers. So it's not a big lift. I think it's been taking a lot of our participants around 15 minutes to get completed. So that application is going to officially close tonight at midnight, but we also are going to extend that application for those folks on the call today until the end of the month. So midnight Eastern Standard Time on 4/30/2026. And we'll be reviewing those applications collected after midnight tonight on a first come, first served basis. So the earlier you can get these applications in, the better. And we hope to engage you on either the Monarch Rise project or the Monarch Student Pilot project.
Erin? This is
Yep.
Jennifer. I just wanted to jump in. When we talked about this yesterday, you shared a really great tip that I don't think you shared today that I think is important. You encourage people to kind of prepare their answers in like a Word document and then be able to copy and paste right into the application. And I think that's a really smart way to make this application a really seamless process for people.
Thanks, Jennifer. Yes, so we have our application is built on Microsoft Forms because we did some accessibility testing and that was working best. One of the limitations is you can't save your progress all the way through. So you may want to prepare your application answers on a Word document. So Sarah, can you tell us about where we can find a Word version of those application questions in order to prepare?
Absolutely. So you can look on the Monarch Rise project webpage or the MSPP project webpage and look for an option for the general project information. There'll be a link to Dropbox, and we have all of the general eligibility um, application samples so that you can get a sneak peek at the questions and prepare your responses in a Word document and then be able to copy and paste it into the Microsoft Forms. That Dropbox folder also has some other great resources like other presentations we've done if you want to get some more information, as well as I think a list of activities that are going on. So if you want to learn more, that's another great resource to explore. And you can always contact our project staff. You can either email rise@aph.org or mspp@aph.org.
You heard Sarah mention that Dropbox folder. You do not need to have a Dropbox account in order to access the materials. It will simply open in the browser that you've set up as the browser of your choice. So I am going to pop a quick disclaimer on our screen that just shares that the contents of this slide deck and meeting were developed under grant H421F 240052 from the U.S. Department of Education. Before I stop my share, so we can jump into two Monarch apps demo, WordStock, and the periodic table. So it's going to take us a minute to switch screens. Jennifer, I have stopped my share. You are good to share on your end.
There we go. Okay, now we'll just hear the Monarch. So I have the Monarch shared, and I believe, Erin, can you confirm that you're seeing the menu for the Monarch?
I am seeing the menu.
Excellent. Sweet. Glad when that works. So one of the great things about the Monarch is that it can connect to an HDMI device, like an external monitor, and through a video capture card or and through some other ways, sometimes you can connect it to a computer to share in virtual presentations. And it really does make it easier for people who are working visually with students to follow along with what's going on because visually, so my menu right now for me it displays in contracted braille, but in visually it can be seen in print, which can be really helpful. So I am going to demonstrate WordStock first because I love games and I love word games. So I'm going to go to the All Applications. I'm going to use that point and click gesture that Scott talked about. You point with one finger and I double tap a little round button in between dots 1 and 4. And All Applications
Main menu,
opens
all
up, gives
apps.
me a list of all
Braille
my
terminal.
apps. And I'm now going to go to WordStock.
Wingdem.
Well, actually, when I did W, it brought up Wing It first, but we're going to go to WordStock, which is a second W choice here.
WordStock.
And now you have a really cool splash screen where it has raised print for WordStock, and it also has this really cool like peace sign type symbol. And one of my coworkers got this in my head. He always goes like WordStock, man, and now it sticks in my head whenever I see the screen. So I'm going to push enter, and
WordStock.
now
Word of the day.
my first choice is Word of the Day. Now, WordStock is very similar to a game that many people play every day that is made by the New York Times. We just are not allowed to use their name for it. But the Word of the Day connects to that game. So if you are online, you can play the Word of the Day just like you might play on your phone or other people might play. I know some teachers at schools even now use this as a like a warm-up kind of activity. There's also previous days. Those are words from previous days. You also need to be connected to the internet for them. But then we also have Dictionary 5, which is a word bank of 5-letter words that you can play as many times a day as you want, and you do not need to be online for those. And then for younger students or for people just starting out or just for fun, we have Dictionary 4. Some 4-letter words have been removed from play for obvious reasons. So there's also statistics, and you can send your statistics to someone and share them, and you can reset your stats, and then there is a tutorial at the bottom. So we're going to go into the word of the day. I'm pushing
Press enter
enter,
to guess.
and it tells me press enter to guess. So now I'm going to
Jennifer,
guess a word. Yeah.
spoiler alert if you are used to playing a word for the day, correct?
What?
Little bit of a spoiler
Oh,
alert.
yes, I guess I should ask. Maybe I shouldn't do word of the day because maybe some people haven't done it. But we're going to play word of the day. If you haven't played the word of the day and you're like really invested in that other game, you might want to step away for a moment because this is a spoiler.
5 letters max. Absent characters. Present characters. Edit box. Press
Okay,
enter.
does anybody have a guess for me for a word to start us out? So now when I pushed enter, I can do 5 letters maximum, and I have no absent characters and no present characters because I haven't guessed anything yet. So I just need to braille a word.
I really
And I
like
can do that.
starting with crane.
All right, we will do
C. A.
and I can
E.
type in contracted. Well, Crane doesn't have any contractions, but if it did, I could use them if I need it because my braille is set to contracted. I'm going to enter.
C. Absent. R. Absent. Absent. N. Present. E. Present.
Okay, so the speech read out that, but you can play this with or without speech. So in Braille, the C, R, and A have nothing around them, which means they are not present. The N has a line above and below it, a raised line, which means it exists in the word, but it's in the wrong place. And the E is the same. It has a line above and below it, which means it exists in the word, but it is in the wrong place. So now, and then I have at the bottom A, C, and R, which are showing that those letters do not exist in the word. So I'm going to hit enter again, and it's
5
time
letters
to
max.
guess
Absent
again.
characters. A. C. R. Present characters. E. N. Edit box. Press enter.
And now for me, when I get something like this and I don't know where the E is and I don't know where the N is, I tend to go for like a double E. So I'm going to try needy.
N.
E.
E.
E. Y. I typed
Y.
it in contracted and it works fine.
N. Present. E. Correct. E. Absent. D. Absent. Y. Absent.
So my N is still present, but in the wrong place, but my E has a little raised square around it, which means it is in the correct place, but the other E is absent, so I know it does not have a double E. So now I can hit, and then I have A, C, D, R, Y are all letters that don't belong in the word at all. So now
5
I
letters
can hit
max. Absent
enter.
characters. A. C. D. R. Y. Present characters. E. N. Edit box. Press enter.
Anyone have an idea for what I should guess next?
I have no idea, Jennifer. And I need to, oh, someone in the chat suggested mentor, but that's 6 letters.
That's 6 letters, sadly. And I do this all the time. I try to do. Well, okay, spoiler alert, I've played this in the morning. Not on the Monarch, I actually played it on my phone.
Someone shared 10th.
Oh, 10th, okay. We'll try that. T.
T.
N.
That's
T.
2.
H.
T. H.
Good idea.
T. Absent. E. Correct. N. Present. T. Absent. H. Absent.
Okay, good thought. But we have the E is still correct, of course. The N is not in that place either. And the T, there's no T and no H.
5 letters max. Absent characters. A. C. D. H. R. T. Y. Present characters. E. N. Edit box. Press enter.
We're getting rid of a lot of letters, which is good.
I think you're going to have to bring us home,
I
Jennifer.
will bring us home. I'm going to do begun.
E. U. N. Begun. Game over. You guessed it.
You guessed
The
it. The word is begun. Guessed in 4
Guessed
tries.
in 4 tries.
And
Okay.
it says okay. And then it gives my stats. So we'll go into the stats just because it's kind of fun.
Statistics. Current words.
So it gives me played to, because I recently reset this. So, and my wins percentage right now is 100%. Current streak is 2. Max streak is 2. And then it gives you like, you can actually go in and get your guess distribution, how many times you guessed it on various tries. And then you can look at previous words of the day. And I haven't played that, so it gives me those stats. So each of the choices give you stats, which is kind of nice. And
Max
now I can,
streak, 0.
Jennifer, this
dictionary
is
for
a
that.
time check. We are at 2:40. So if you want to
Okay.
jump
So
on
let me
over
go
to our
to
next
the
app.
periodic
Word stock.
table. That's where I was
Word of the
going.
day.
Good to know. So we're going to go to,
Main menu.
oh,
Braille
went a
editor.
little too
Keep
far.
all
That's okay. We're
applications.
going to go to all apps. And we're going to go to the periodic
Main
table
menu
because
all
this
apps.
is a really
Braille
fun new
terminal.
app.
Periodic table.
And we're going to enter. And we get a really
Periodic
cool
table.
splash screen here that has Monarch periodic table with raised print and Braille. And now I'm going to hit enter.
Periodic table. Hydrogen. Atomic number, 1.
Wow.
Atomic mass, 1.008.
Now, this is super exciting. So speech read some information about hydrogen. Hydrogen has a symbol to the left and to the right, like all 8 dots. It's a focus symbol. But this is displaying all of the element symbols laid out like the periodic table, which I personally had never seen it quite this way. As a blind student, I've always had like papers where you kind of have to flip different pages in a book. So it's really interesting to me how this is all laid out. And you can interact with this by moving with your arrows.
Helium. Atomic number, 2. Atomic mass, 4.003.
And what's being read when you focus on an element is information that is also in Braille. At the bottom of the screen, there is one line that has that information. But if I want more information about helium, I can hit enter.
Periodic table. Helium.
So I could have the speech read this, but I'm going to read it because I can. So it displays all this information, Braille. So it has helium, symbol He, atomic number 2, atomic mass 4.002602, standard state gas, category noble gas, period 1, group 18, block S, and you can add a bookmark. So you can get all that information really quickly about any element that you focus on. And you can
Periodic
point and
table.
click on an element. So if I'm going to point and click on MC,
Moscovium. Atomic number, 115. Atomic mass, 289.000.
and
Didn't know that was an element.
I've never heard of moscovium, but anyway, and you could then hit enter and get information on moscovium. So one other really cool thing about the periodic table is that you can find information by using space with F for find.
Periodic table.
And now
Search by atomic number.
I can either search by atomic number, I can search by element name, or I can search by element symbol. So let's go by atomic number. I want to
Edit
know
box. Search.
what element 55 is. So I'm going to
5.
enter 55 and enter.
Periodic table. Cesium.
And it's cesium, which symbol is C. It brings me to all the information about it. So it says that the symbol is CS, the atomic number is 55, the mass is 132.90546. Standard state is a solid. Category is alkali metal, period 6, group 1, block S. And I had previously put a bookmark on this when I was doing a demo, so it gives me the option to remove the bookmark if I want to do that. So I think this is just an incredible resource for students who are learning about their elements and learning chemistry, whether college, middle school, high school. I know I really could have used this when I was learning
Periodic
science.
table. Search by atomic number.
And it makes me very excited for students who kind of will take this for granted, will grow up with this, and with tactile graphics. I'm not the best person for tactile literacy. I'm not used to a lot of tactile graphics, and I'm learning more and more now that I have more exposure to them. And I can only imagine what a first grader or second grader that starts with a lot of tactile graphics in 5-6 years will be doing with tactile graphics. It's just very exciting to me.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. I feel like you've guided us from WordStock, which is an app that I know lots of adults are using and lots of younger students are using in the classroom as a group activity, and then periodic table, which is hitting that middle high grade. So it's a great kind of broad spectrum overview of some of the Monarch apps and applications. I'm going to ask if you don't mind to keep your screen up and keep sharing screen and sound because Jason, I think we're ready to go to jump into some Q&A time, and I imagine some of our Q&A might be, can I see this or can I try this out on the Monarch? So
And if anyone's
Okay.
going to be at CTE BVI, I will be there tomorrow and be at the booth Friday and Saturday. So just a plug for that.
Excellent. So I believe that if people have some questions, they can put them in the chat. Is that right, Helen? Because if we can also put them on the screen, but then we'll lose the screen, right?
That
If
is
we want to
correct.
see
And
them in
I've
person.
also enabled everyone to talk. So if you would
Okay.
like to ask a question verbally, you are more than welcome to unmute and ask a question.
I would love to see the music notes if there's a way to show that.
Tactile viewer.
I can do Braille music. I don't know what it will show in Braille. So it won't show you like, there might be in the TGIL, there might be raised print music notes. Are you looking for raised print notes or just Braille music?
Both, if you can do it, but I don't want to be overly demanding. I'm just completely amazed by this.
So
Braille editor.
what will happen in the
TBRF.
Braille editor, you can create a BRF file. So if I,
Edit box.
now you're going to really challenge me because I haven't
Top.
written Braille music for a bit, but
I'll help you. Every good boy does fine.
yeah, except that's not how it goes in Braille music, so it's a little
Oh, then I
different.
can't help you.
Okay, so I'm going to write a little bit of Braille music.
Dots 4, 6, dots 1, dots
But
1,
I think
5,
all it's
6.
going to do is show you the Braille.
That's okay.
Dots 1, 4, 5, 6.
B.
W.
So this would be
Space.
like EDCB.
And if I understood correctly, the bottom two dots are the octave.
Yes, I did an octave at the first. So this is octave 5, and then I did EDCB, and then these two dots, the final two dots are the cursor.
And can that convert to tactile?
No, not. I mean, that is a really good use, and that would be amazing. And I know someone was trying to do that with like a tactile score, thinking it could convert. Not yet, but maybe someday.
Okay.
But we can
Thank
see
you.
real quick.
Exit key
I can
BRF.
go into
This is
the.
Erin
You want to
chiming
save your
in.
document?
Wanted to share that one of our RISE
PBRF.
participants has
Create.
successfully used the Monarch
Main
to
menu.
create their
Braille
own
editor.
ukulele
PBRF.
tabs. They were
Wow.
sharing that having the multi-line was helpful to have the lyric and the chord or the note. I'm not an expert on
cool.
ukulele tabs, but
Viewer.
having them stacked on top of one another, which they
Tactile
weren't
viewer.
able to access
Open.
in a single line display.
APH.
I was just jumping into the APH TGIL for a second
APH
to see
TGIL menu.
if there is a tactile.
Search. Search what? Edit box. Search image.
Notes.
L.
So I just entered
S.
the tactile viewer and I went into the TGIL, which is a tactographic image
Notes.
library, and I'm searching for musical
4 results
notes.
found.
And there is a music notes tactile. So
Music
here we
notes. Loading content. Please wait. Tactile viewer. Loading content.
Okay,
Please
so
wait.
when you first get it, it's just a condensed version, which I think is sort of showing the staff. So now I'm going to zoom. And it looks
Now
like
we
this.
see a clear eighth
Now we
note.
see eighth
Wow.
note, and it says eighth note in Braille. And it's, yeah. And so I'm going to go up here. So this says whole note, and this is a whole note. So, and this is a half note. So this is pretty exciting. So yeah, you do have some tactile representations as well.
Crazy. Thank you.
I know, isn't that cool?
We had a question in the chat. How do you see the Monarch being used in a work setting? What will it allow workers to do that they can't do now or would be able to do better with the Monarch? I can jump in and share from our pilot phase of professionals in the Monarch Rise project. Dawn, I'm going to say the same thing I said to Jason earlier. Ask me this question in a year from now because I'm going to have new answers. One of our participants has shared that he is utilizing it at a work setting to access captioning for Zoom meetings. it is allowing him to have the multi-line and keep up with captions much faster than when he was using a single line display. So that was interesting to learn how that's been improving his workflow when he's in meetings. Have some other folks who shared they're using it in interesting ways with their Braille terminal mode to access the chat for like a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting. So they can access the chat more readily and faster than they would on a single line display or using the audio, having to listen to the meeting and listen to the chat at the same time. One of the things we are interested in learning through the project, and we're already seeing some folks share their anecdotal evidence, is that the Monarch is supporting their ability to present, do professional presentations, both on the organizational side of like having multi-lines to keep track of your notes. But also, one of the things we're interested in field testing and are currently developing with our RISE participants is a slides application for the Monarch, which would allow Microsoft PowerPoint and similar products to display visually on the Monarch device. So you can feel where that heading is on the slide, feel where the graphic is. That's currently in development. So we don't have any stats on that to share yet because we haven't launched the field test yet, but it's
But
happening.
I can tell you that connected to a computer in Braille terminal mode, I use it all the time to present slides with Microsoft PowerPoint. I found it super helpful. Instead of just having one line and having to scroll along the slide, now most of the slide content fits on the screen, which is really nice. And I can also use it for following along with PowerPoints that other people are doing if they've sent them ahead of time. And it's also great for following along and collaborating on documents. I found that really, really useful. Like if you're working with someone to draft something, and so you can read exactly what they're writing and you can edit and put information in, and it just makes the whole collaborate. And you can read comments. It's just a really seamless way of doing that. It also works beautifully for Excel. I don't work in Excel as much as I used to in a former job, but even the little bit I work in this job in Excel, I love being able to actually read the columns and the rows much more instead of one cell at a time, which is what I used to do with a single line 40 cell display.
Yeah, Jennifer, I'm just going to bump out and highlight those two new-ish features that you mentioned. One is access to Key Drive, so you can connect to OneDrive and Google Drive in order to be able to access those documents. The other is that I'm forgetting the technical term, but the mode when using the JAWS screen reader that allows you to see the columns and rows aligned within the
Oh,
multi-line
it's called
text.
cropped mode. Cropped
Thank you,
mode.
Erin.
Yep, absolutely.
So that was something many of our participants mentioned as well, that they're learning about Excel now that they have access to the multiple cells and rows. We had a question of also wonder if it would help people who code on the job.
Oh
I'll
yeah.
let you know, we are learning. We imagine so, but we want to get some stories back to you.
I know one of our QA people said that it has helped him, but he's not an official participant, but he did mention that as a thing.
We can include him in a focus group or something. We'll capture it.
Yep.
And you heard Bill share that teaching the coding has been helpful because you can understand the indents and the parrot and the nesting of content within the multi-lines.
I was actually working with a person the other day that's in college that does poetry, and she was excited to see some of the poems formatted better with the multiple lines. So that was kind of an interesting thing too.
Is there anything else in the chat before we wind up? I'm just asking those to check. Probably have time for one more question.
While we wait for someone to unmute or drop in the chat, I'll also share at that Meet Monarch website, aph.org/meet-monarch. Not only can you get connected to the MSPP project or the RISE project, but you can also get connected to request a demo with Jennifer. So if there's something you didn't get a chance to see today that you want to learn about, please use that form to connect with our entire team.
Okay, I'll wrap us up by identifying. I had known a lot about the product, but not this program that's connected to it. And I must say, the product is extremely impressive. Just watching Jennifer go through it is really amazing. the Monarch Moment stories, the simultaneous stories about sighted people working with people with vision impairment sort of simultaneously or blindness were quite touching and really revealing. And I wasn't exactly sure what Monarch Moments meant, but as you express those, the one that will stay with me is for someone to get the graphic as their child starts to write their name. I just, my mind goes to, sure, you could take it and go to a 3D printer at your local library and and get that done, but to have that instantaneously and simultaneously parent the exact way a fully sighted parent would is extraordinary, or right, vice versa in that scenario. Just absolutely extraordinary, really heartwarming and wonderful stories. I am so glad you shared them, and I'm so glad you were able to display this terrific technology with us. We'll make sure that this video is recorded. Um, so people will be able to have access to it very soon. If there are questions or comments, you can contact our speakers directly, or you can reach out to Helen or I, and we'll be sure to get you in contact. Um, but on that note, I really wish to thank everybody for your time this afternoon. I wish to thank our speakers. A very, very excellent presentation and very, very smooth use of technology. So very, very impressed. I struggle with that, and watching you navigate all of this so smoothly on the Zoom screen was really terrific. I thank everybody for coming. And unless there's anything else, we can wrap this up. But again, very, very happy to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, everyone.